Hey everyone, it's Alexander Robinson. Welcome to the channel, and this is my review for Wicked, Part 1. This movie is directed by Jon M, who directed Crazy Rich Asians and In the Heights, and is based off the hit Broadway musical of the same name. This movie takes place long before Dorothy's arrival to Oz, and it pretty much follows the unlikely friendship between Galinda, who becomes Glenda the Good Witch of the North, and Elphaba, who ends up becoming the Wicked Witch of the West. Before I continue, if you like this review and you want to see more videos like this in the future, then you can go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel right here, and make sure to hit the bell button to get a notification when a new video comes out. Anyway, let's continue with the review. I think it's safe to say that this was the most anticipated movie of the fall season. And I was looking forward to it, but not for the same reason a lot of other people were, because I never saw the original musical. It came out in 2003 and was at a point when I was starting to become a teenage boy and thought, yeah, no thank you, this doesn't look like it appeals to me. And even though I still have not seen the musical for myself, the older I've gotten, the more I've grown to appreciate the idea that this is actually very clever. Rather than making a movie prequel to the classic Wizard of Oz, let's do a prequel as a Broadway musical. Let's do it in a completely different medium, and thus the rest is history. I mean, that poster for Wicked is absolutely iconic. But the reason I was looking forward to this movie was because Jon M has really stepped up as a director in the past couple of years. He did stuff like G.I. Joe Retaliation and Jen and the Holograms, which ugh. But he turned around with Crazy Rich Asians and In the Heights, with the latter ending up on my top 15 list the year it came out. So it's for that reason I was excited for Wicked, not because I had any attachment to the original play, and after seeing this movie, it really makes me want to see the play at some point, because this is fantastic. Would I say it's one of my favorite movies of the year? Maybe, but on the lower end, and I think that mostly has to do with the fact that I didn't have the same level of enthusiasm for this as fans of the musical did. But let's talk about the movie itself. One of the great things about having not seen the musical is that I can judge this on its own merits. And on its own merits, it is a spectacular movie, especially production-wise. The costumes, the sets, the cinematography are all A+. The look of the film, there's so many points where I just wonder, is that a real set or is that CG enhancements to it? Because it looks that good. I see this as a strong contender, probably the front runner for best costume design and production design, because if anything else comes out this year that looks better than Wicked, then I'd be shocked. The musical numbers are also really well done in terms of the choreography, how they utilize the sets for these sequences. There's a musical number that takes place in a library where you have books basically spinning in what is essentially a hamster wheel, and it's really creative. It looks practical, and again, if that was CG enhanced, I'd be shocked. And the actors that performed these musical numbers really gave it their all. I mean, it got to a point where after every big number, the audience was cheering. Now granted, I saw it in a packed theater with a bunch of Wicked fans, but it got me cheering as well because those sequences were that impressive. The cast itself is fantastic. Your two leads are Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba and Ariana Grande as Galinda, or Glinda. And Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba is great. She is made to be an outcast, but also the one who's the most outspoken of all these characters, especially when it comes to a lot of prejudice moments surrounding other characters in this movie. She's the only one that stands out, and you could tell that she is trying to do what's right. Although I will say, one disadvantage of not having seen the play, and this being part one of a two-part story, is I don't know how we go from somebody who's very sympathetic and you care for her to an absolute villain in The Wizard of Oz. So I'm curious to see how that plays out, because throughout this entire movie, I was more on Team Elphaba because she definitely had her head in the right mindset, especially in today's climate. On the other side of the coin, you have Ariana Grande as Galinda, who is great in this role, but for the very opposite reasons that Cynthia Erivo is. Ariana Grande is so perfect in this role of Galinda the Good Witch that it's almost unbearable to watch because she's needy, she comes from a high-class society, she acts all nice only when it tries to benefit her and make her feel good about herself. But as the movie progresses, you do kind of buy into their friendship. You can actually see Galinda reach out to Elphaba through the pure kindness of her heart without seeing how it can benefit her own self-interests, while everybody else at Shiz University is just a complete asshole. That's something that always cracked me up about this university. It's that, why would anybody want to go here? Like 95% of the people who attend this school are just the biggest douchebags in the world. But the growing friendship throughout this movie is believable, and both actresses do a phenomenal job playing opposite each other. You also have Michelle Yeoh in this movie, who's the dean of Shiz University, trying to help Elphaba harness her powers. And she's good. I don't know if I exactly trust her character, but we'll see what happens with part 2. Again, from somebody who has not seen the Broadway musical, or even read the book that it's loosely based off. Jeff Goldblum is a lot of fun as Oz the Great and Powerful, though he doesn't really do a whole lot in this movie outside of just being Jeff Goldblum. Jonathan Bailey plays this prince that Galinda falls in love with, and I honestly didn't think he brought that much to this story. One of the more surprising aspects of this movie was Dr. Dillamond, voiced by Peter Dinklage, because he is an animal professor at Shiz University, and he feeds into the plot line that animals in Oz are being suppressed, and they're trying to basically be removed, and it's basically an entire class war subplot going on, and it definitely leads to some very intense moments, one in particular that really hits hard. It's a very well-made movie, and in terms of this being part 1 of a 2-part adaptation, I'd say that this is one of the better ones, because it moves at a better pace than something like Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. It's more interesting and doesn't drag out consistently like Dune Part 1. And regarding the end of the film, I didn't feel cheated like I did at the end of Fast X, which that itself is part 1 of a 2-part story apparently. And it didn't feel awkward the way that Deathly Hallows Part 1 ended. I mean, I'm assuming that's how Act 1 of the Broadway musical ends, but it's enough to get me excited for part 2, and as for this movie itself, it's easily worth seeing in your lifetime. This is a much better Oscar contender than something like Gladiator 2. It's a visually stunning movie to watch, whether it's the sets, the costumes, or the musical numbers. The cast is fantastic, the story is very engaging, and again, the way it ends leaves me excited to see how they conclude this adaptation. But I gotta say, considering how big of a phenomenon the musical was, there's got to be a lot of pressure to pull off part 2 and make it as good as this. So I'm excited to see what the future holds. I don't know if this is going to end up on my best of the year list. It might if I end up seeing enough movies to where I do a top 15 list, but right now, this might be on the lower end of my top 10 list. We'll see how the rest of this year plays out, but Wicked is undeniably wicked. I had to get that out there. And there you go, that's my review for Wicked Part 1. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching this video, thank you for being subscribed to the channel, and I also want to give a special thank you to my YouTube members right over here. If you want to help support the channel even more, you can do so via YouTube memberships for as little as $1.99 a month. Not only do you get early access to all of my videos, but you get exclusive perks, including my top 5 favorite series, and starting next year, the ability to nominate and vote for retro movie reviews every month. So I hope you consider joining as a YouTube member in the future. Until next time, I want to know what you guys think about Wicked Part 1. Whatever your opinions are, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button to get notifications. You can also follow me on these social media platforms down here, and my theme park and travel channel right here on YouTube. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a good day, and take care of yourselves.